Okay, hello and welcome back to Pass the Torch Legacies in Jewelry. I realized after I finished editing this video that I forgot to record an intro, so you'll notice my background is a little bit different today. I'm working out of Michael Boyd's studio, but really quickly I just want to introduce to you Nolan Sponsler and his wonderful fiancée Stephanie, who I had the joy of getting to know during this episode. Nolan is really special and wonderful because from, just a jeweler's perspective, he is both a faceter and a fabricator. He owns Deep River Jewelry with Stephanie, and they are also planning their wedding, which is wonderful. Congratulations to them. And this was a really fun, lighthearted conversation. I just loved getting to know how they manage both the business aspect and the personal relationship aspect as they're each other's significant others and running a business together. And I just had a really great time getting to know them both a little bit more in this episode. So I hope you enjoy it. I realize that the holidays are speeding up and people are really busy. So thank you for taking the time to listen to this. I hope it helps you get through your day. I'm assuming most people are listening to this while they're working on the bench. Thank you for tuning in. And here is my conversation with Nolan. Awesome. Nolan and Stephanie, thank you so much for joining. I am so excited to have you here. Nolan, I jumped on a call with you a few months ago and just got to briefly know you a little bit. And ever since, I have just been so excited to have you both on the podcast. Thank you for coming on.
Of course. Thank you for having us.
So for those who don't know you, who are you and where are you located?
So my name's Nolan Sponsler. This is my wonderful fiance, Stephanie, and we run Deep River Jewelry Design in Deep River, Connecticut.
I didn't realize that it was named after the town.
Yes.
I just always loved the name.
Yeah, well, the business was started by a husband and wife in 1993, and he was also a craftsman and very well respected in the area. The connection was he grew up with my father. They knew each other since 13 years old. Him and my uncle are still best friends. And he made my parents' engagement rings 30 years ago. And and when I just so happened to become a goldsmith, my dad had been trying to get me to hang out with him for years. And then I finally did and saw what a wonderful business it was. It wasn't your traditional jewelry store. It was just him and his wife. It just seemed like the right thing for me to do. So that's when I took it over.
That's wonderful. So you acquired the business from him.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was the type of thing where he didn't have anybody to turn it over to. So it just worked out perfectly. I couldn't have planned it better.
That is awesome. Okay, so how did you two meet? And at what point did jewelry enter the picture? Were you already a goldsmith before you guys started dating? Or was it something that came about kind of as a surprise? How did that happen?
Would you like me to go first?
You can share.
Okay.
Yeah, I can add to it.
Yeah, so, we had kind of exchanged messages through social media. We were kind of keeping up with each other. And
we have to rewind because jewelry was in the picture before that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, keep going though.
Okay.
Well, I'll add that in later. Sorry.
Sure. So so we had met in passing, and we knew each other. We kind of followed each other, and then one day she messaged me on Instagram after she broke her ring. She had a little silver moonstone ring, and she was a yoga instructor, and somehow the ring got pretty messed up. So she asked if I could glue the stone back in.
Or if he had any recommendations for glue so that I could glue it myself back in.
Yeah, so I said no. You need to bring me the ring, and I'll see what I can do to fix it. And when she came over, and I just started my business. I didn't have hardly any business. Like I was just setting up my shop in my basement. I still lived with my parents and had no faceting equipment. I hadn't learned faceting at this point. I was just making like little silver peace sign earrings, like nothing special. And, my dad answers the door and he's like, "You're here to see Nolan?"
He was like, "You can come over to my shop."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "It's in my parents' basement."
Yeah.
Humble beginning.
Yeah, that was 7 years ago. And, and I saw the ring. It was totally mangled. There was no fixing it. So what I ended up doing was I made her a new ring, and when she asked to pay me for it, I gifted it to her and invited her into my house and showed her the shop. That's how we pretty much started dating.
Very slick, Nolan, very slick. I was insistent on having Stephanie on this podcast because I know that the two of you have such a fantastic collaboration together and you've built something together that I know that you're proud of. I wanted to talk to you about what each of you bring to your partnership. You bring different strengths creatively and operationally. Do you mind maybe Stephanie going into that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. I would say that, Nolan always held the vision of us working together since we met. I remember you telling me like very early on, you're like, I want someone where like we can like really build something. And of course, me being like my independent woman self, I was like, no, like I have my own vision of what I want to create. So I went off and did that. Now here we are. Somehow he always gets what he wants in the best way possible. Nolan's like a master manifester and I can't help it, but we just naturally like are talents. One day, like, I guess I kind of woke up and was like, our talents so perfectly like combined together like puzzle pieces, and
I
it would
agree.
be dumb not to work together. And so to speak to that a little bit, I would say Nolan is totally the creative genius when it comes to jewelry and the brand and the vision for what he wants, and then creating and working with clients. And I feel like I come in and try and bring that vision to life on a bigger scale. So I kind of work with the systems, the hiring, the marketing, and like keeping us on track to go bigger and bigger to like get to where he really wants to be. Right now, currently, I feel like I'm just trying to free up your time so you can create more art.
Totally.
Like I would say
Totally.
that that's like my goal constantly, is to put in place systems and operations within the business so that he can like really be in his genius, because that's the only way that our business really has a heartbeat.
Right. So you would consider yourself to be the amplifier. He's kind of putting together the stepping stones and you're like taking a huge magnifying glass and making it as awesome as it can be.
I have a lot of ideas, and she helps filter through them and help me bring them to life for sure. So,
Yeah. Yeah, we work together well in that way. I think both of our energies, when we come together, we amplify each other. That's what I've always seen within our relationship, is there's some sort of catalyst effect that when you're with the right person, I don't know if this is, I don't think it's unique to just us. I think everyone has this when you're with the right person, is somehow like when we first got together, both of our businesses kind of took off.
yeah.
And now it's like when we get together, we both, it just amplifies. But yeah, I would say that I keep us on track to go bigger versus like getting derailed by a bunch of different projects.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So you have the opportunity to soundboard off of each other. Everyone knows that working with a spouse or a significant other has its ups and downs and has like the ways that you navigate it unique to you. How have you guys handled conflict or differing opinions in your last 2 years together as business partners and
Yeah.
life partners?
Um, well, I think we both trust each other, and whenever we have really strong opinions about something, we try to work it out logically and try to do what's best for both of us and the business. So we don't really have too many major conflicts that really hold us back. We're just able to talk through everything. It's all about communication.
I would say that like working together has given us a lot more instances to be able to communicate. So our communication has
Sure.
gotten a lot better. Otherwise, we're just like communicating in the mornings and the evenings and like a little bit throughout the day. But right now it's like constant all of the time. And you have to learn how to switch from like life mode into business mode. So that's been really fun. But I don't feel like we have a lot of disagreements because I feel like we're always kind of on the same page.
Yeah.
And there's clear leadership in the vision. So while I have my own ideas around like what could be possible for the brand, a lot of it is, and like my goal is taking his creative vision, because he's the artist, and looking at like, okay, how can we make this a reality, versus me having a competing vision and being like, but my vision has to come first, or like my vision has to be put out into the world, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like you
Absolutely.
very clearly lead the vision, and then we work together, and like I bring in other things too.
100%.
Yeah. So there's no like massive disagreements, but how do we work through it if we do?
Yeah, we talk it through. Yeah,
Same vision, same team.
Yeah.
100%.
And I have to learn to like leave him alone when he like wants to be in his art
Yeah,
escape. That's the biggest thing, actually.
if there's things that really need to get figured out, sometimes I just need to be left alone so I can think and do what needs to get done. So
Yeah. Versus I want to like talk about it right away. And that's not always productive.
What's something that you admire about each other's work ethic that most people wouldn't know?
well, Steph is very driven. She has a lot of energy, and I mean, she can go, go, go all the time, which it's very impressive to me. It's inspiring. She's also very structured and likes to keep to a schedule, whereas I will just go with the flow. But when I'm in the flow, I can be very efficient with my time and what I'm able to do in that time, as opposed to like when I have been sticking to a schedule a lot more, but it's just not my mode of operation.
Yeah.
So
I laugh because one time we were asked a question where he was like, or someone asked him, like, what's the thing that you love most about stuff? And you said, like, because I'm organized. It's like, great answer. We'll put that in our vows.
So romantic.
It's so romantic. There's other things.
of
Yeah.
course, of
Okay.
course.
I would say like the biggest, like the part of his genius that I have so much respect and honoring for is I would say like your ability, yes, you're a creative genius, but I think a lot of people can see that. But your ability to connect with people and your ability to like really listen and see other people, I think goes so far in your client relationships and your relationships in the world. Like, we can't walk down the street without Nolan saying hi to someone and like genuinely taking the time to say hi to them and like actually caring about people. And I think that that's just something that I learn so much from every single day. And you are incredibly driven as well. Like, we match each other's drive, but in different ways as well. But I think people
Yeah.
can also kind of see that from your work ethic.
Well, not only is Nolan creatively savvy, Nolan, you're incredibly technically savvy. Some of the things that I see you share online with the world and your work, it's incredibly impressive. So flowers where flowers are due.
Thank you.
I am in general very impressed with your work, and you have diversified how you work, which is one of the main reasons why I wanted to have you on, is because you didn't pigeonhole yourself into being one type of jeweler. You do a lot. You encompass multifaceted aspects, for lack of a better term, aspects of the jewelry trade. And so I just wanted to put that out there, because for anyone who's just getting to know both of them, Steph, and all that you bring to the business side of your entrepreneurship together, but Nolan being just a truly technically savvy jeweler, I'm very impressed by.
Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot.
What has the partnership taught you guys about love and patience?
Yeah, well, you definitely learn how to be patient. There's just no other way.
What's the partnership taught you about patience? He is the most patient person in the world. So I feel like I have all the learning to do with patience. He is incredibly patient with this entire transition and us working together. I feel like I've just learned about patience, like the true, like, what does it actually mean to have patience with someone that you love? And it's not always easy.
Yeah, well, when you work together in business, you're basically spending all day, every day together. So, yeah, I guess there's certain times where you recognize you need a little bit of space, and we don't take it personally, and we just allow each other to do what we need to do, and then we come back. So,
Yeah. I think we also, because we had a relationship as the basis first, I mean, we had like what, 5 years together at least before we ever entertained the thought, or I ever entertained the thought of us working together, that I feel like that really created a solid foundation first, where like we know each other as partners first and business owners second. Like, if anything ever happened, if I just, brought someone on to replace me or something like that, like we would still be fine as a couple. And I think that has allowed us to just have fun and play. And when you're in the energy of fun and play in your work, you just naturally have more patience, because it's not so tense. It's not like we need to figure this out, or else it's like, no, we're actually just having so much fun. Like, let's go around and find out. And like one day we decide like we don't like working together, then we can move on. We can do something else. But like we love it right now, and it's just fun, I would say.
absolutely,
And that creates patience too.
absolutely.
I always have a fun time asking people this question, because it's really interesting to hear who is willing to date within the industry and who isn't. But Nolan, you did something different where you brought someone into the industry with you, and that is not as common.
Yeah, so she's not from the industry, but a lot of her background is just extremely important to any business person. So,
Right. Right.
Yeah, it is though interesting because I always felt like that was my downside, was that I didn't know a lot about jewelry, and still to this day I should know so much more than I do. but that's where we always talk, like where we have I love that he's not in like my initial industry, which is in the online business and education space. Love like he always balanced me because he was an artist, and I feel like I balance you because I'm not in necessarily like
She's very
initially
organized.
in I'm not initially in jewelry. So, like, I
It's
feel like
true.
we have differing perspectives.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
What were your earliest dreams of Deep River Jewelry, and how have those evolved as the business has grown?
Yeah. When we first took it over, my dream was to just to keep it going because it was an amazing business up until he was just ready to retire. It was going strong. And it was a shame that nobody was there to take it over. My first goal was to keep it running smoothly and slowly evolve it into my vision. And my vision for it, it hasn't changed too much, except that I'm here to bring what I bring to the business as opposed to what the previous owner did. So we're using a lot more social media, which I think is helping us reach a lot more clients in the local area and beyond local too. Yeah, I really want to continue being a staple of the community here. So
Yeah. I'll also add to that if that's okay. Um, and I would say that one thing I've witnessed in you, just having the observer's perspective, is that this establishment was such an incredible, like, craftsman run business.
Mm.
And that's something that Nolan has carried on as the legacy, is like, it's very much a craftsman run business. Like, he is actually doing the work. He's back there. Like, we care about that craftsmanship so deeply. And the people in the community also really care about that, which has been so cool. And so I feel like your goal has been keep that at the heart. And now also, how can we amplify it to uplift even more craftsmen? How can we like grow the brand beyond just a staple in the local community, even though that's what we will always have as the heart of it? Because the community is so good to us and we like to be so good to them as well. Like, it's been the most beautiful partnership, I feel like, with the surrounding areas. And also, how can we like bring it bigger so that we can uplift more craftsmen in the process as well? Was
100%.
That
that,
was
yeah.
beautifully said.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Because as this business grows and scales, there's a lot of people that live within 30 minutes to an hour of here. I simply can't do enough to do everybody's work. So it would be wonderful for this to be a place that I can eventually hire other people like me who are in pursuit of mastering the skills of goldsmithing so that this becomes the place. So that's
Yeah,
the
and you
goal.
guys
That's the
live in
goal.
such a beautiful part of the country.
Yes, you got to come visit sometime. We
I
really
would
do
love
live
to.
in a
My parents
special.
almost bought a house out there.
No kidding.
Really?
In around here?
Or in
Yeah.
Connecticut?
Yeah, they went somewhere else though, sorry. I would have been out there. But no, they went upstate New York instead, on
Sure.
they got
Gotcha.
a little lake house out there. But yeah,
That's
we
usually
were definitely
how.
were like in that area, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that wouldn't be too far."
Yeah, yeah.
It's beautiful.
It is. When I moved here, I only visited for 2 days in the middle of February. And the day that I was there, it was like 55, 60 degrees, which was wild. And then the next day, it was 13. So, I mean, I didn't even know that the surrounding towns, what they were like. I really didn't know. And then I just moved out here because it felt right. And then I get here and I realize, wow, we're in this pocket of, people who really care about their communities and um, it's beautiful. We're right next to the shore. It's like we got all the best things.
Yeah, the winters are just a little tough, but that's anywhere in the Northeast.
Luckily, we go to Tucson in February. So
Nice. Hope to see you guys there. That would be lovely. How far are you from the city? I know that that's
we're a 2.5 hour train ride to Grand Central. And then we're 2 hours to Boston. And we're 30 minutes from New Haven.
yeah. So you guys almost have your own little slice of heaven that is accessible to the other big cities, but
Yeah.
not
Yes.
demanding.
We're
Yeah.
not necessarily a suburb of the big cities, which is really nice, for our own personal pace of life, but also like we don't have all the competition that comes with big cities. Like, that's a huge key, is that there's not a lot of other jewelers out here, but there's a lot of people, which
Yeah.
has been really, really cool to
Yeah,
witness.
don't tell anyone.
Yeah, don't.
Keep it private. Keep it under the rug.
You can come out here if you want.
Nolan, how do you navigate the fine line between staying artisanal and scaling to meet demand? Stephanie, I know you mentioned craftsmanship as being your core value.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think it's a combination of the seasons, like knowing how busy we are at certain times of the year and then what type of work that I can take on, and also knowing when it's a project that just doesn't align with what I want to be doing. And sometimes you just have to say no, even though you want to be able to take care of everybody, but you just simply can't. But then that's where, like what we discussed, a few minutes ago, where ultimately, if I can be somebody who can hire somebody like you who's trying to learn but has skills to do some of the repairs that I might have to turn away at this time. This is what I working to build so that we can support people that want to get to a higher level and be a place that produces some of the finest jewelry anywhere.
That's awesome. I commend you for that vision. Yeah, being newer in this space, the hardest thing has been getting anybody to care and to like take a chance on someone. Getting education is so hard. Mentorship is so hard. And the fact that you're wanting to offer it, just that heart posture means so much to someone who's actively trying to learn.
Absolutely. I mean, I had that for me. I don't know if
Mm.
you've interviewed or talked to Mark Farrell at Buffalo Craft Co., but he is the guy who took me under his wing and taught me most everything that I learned and know and use today. Everything from actually making custom jewelry to running a business. And he shared a studio with Jason Fava. So, it's just that time of my life. I learned so much in those 8 months I worked with him that if I could ever provide that for others, I will. So.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. What surprised you both the most about running a jewelry business?
Surprised. Something that comes to mind is the store was originally a retail type store that was open 5 days a week or 4 days a week. And what we've done is we've switched it completely over to by appointment. There's various reasons for it. One of them being, security, knowing who's coming in and out. But then two, it really allows me to focus just on the days that I'm taking the appointments to be purely with the client and present with them the entire time. And then I can the rest of the week be totally present with the work that I need to get done at the bench and design. So it's been really helpful for the way my brain works, and it's also allows me to give a better experience for our clients. I'm surprised how well it's actually worked, and people have been totally okay with it. In fact,
Really lost business because of it.
in
at all.
fact, yeah, I think it's been even better because those days that were available for appointments, they're just totally stacked. So yeah, it's worked surprisingly well.
I would say like mine's a little bit different, but that's also coming from someone who's not necessarily wasn't in the industry like to begin with. And I would say the sentimentality behind jewelry and what we notice from people, like everyone's got a story with their piece. And that to me, whether it's a piece that they're getting made, a piece that they bring in that they've had or something like that, like there's so much heart in all of it, which to be completely honest, I never was like super, super drawn to jewelry because I felt like it was a material thing and I wanted like the human. I just like studying humans. I like getting to know humans. There's so much there's so much heart in the entire industry. And I know that you caters that because you have a really incredible heart. And that's been really cool to see on my end. Which I'm sure you
Well,
guys.
it's almost like your answers perfectly blend together because what you're doing by blocking off these appointment days is you're not dividing your attention. You're singularly focused on taking that appointment and allowing whatever attention you could possibly give to the client be on that client. So it almost amplifies the experience across the board. I think it's brilliant. I love that business model and I commend you for being willing to take a risk and take it on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because then your attention isn't divided and you're not
100%.
also coming out. I have the issue where obviously like polishing compound and getting it all over my face and my hands, and then you're like shaking someone like a client's hand, and you're like, I'm so sorry for how I look
Yeah.
right now.
Plus, if you're doing really intricate pave work or setting a really expensive stone, and somebody just rings your doorbell, I can't have that happen anymore. So
Right.
Yeah.
I have to be focused.
I think it was also, I mean, that move, just as much as it's been about the client experience, which has been so fun to build out and really dive into, it's also has been about like protecting his mental sanity, because that like interruption to creativity 4 days out of the week for someone who's an artist, like it was driving you insane. Not that like we wanted all the people to come here and we love people coming up to our door, but to be taken away from your bench so often was really difficult. So in order to keep our team like really lean and small, we're like, let's just cut down the days and see. And everyone's been responsive and it's worked really well for your creativity, I think.
And most people are available on Fridays and Saturdays anyway.
Yeah.
That's when they're available. So it just works out.
So Fridays and Saturdays are your appointment days, and then you're working in the workshop whenever else you
Exactly.
need to.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. Are you guys taking Sunday to rest?
Sometimes, but most of the time, it's just that I get to do things that I maybe enjoy a little bit more. Like I get to cut a really cool stone right now. Like yesterday, I was working on a stone all day that I really enjoyed. So
But we did spend the morning, we went to the farmer's market and we did other things and like chilled before. I feel like we take like half a day on Sunday, but like when you love what you do, it's just
yeah,
what you like
You just
spending
keep
your time
going.
doing. And then we get to travel for a few weeks. So that's like our time off.
exactly.
Are there specific customer commissions that have stood out as particularly significant that you have enjoyed taking on?
Absolutely. It's the projects where I really get to shine, where I get to show off the skills that I've actually spent years learning. So I would say there's a set of blue sapphire earrings that I French set a halo and set them in platinum. And then I also did a platinum ring with a really nice large pink sapphire and then did a bunch of fancy pave setting and the prongs. And it's fun projects like that where the client, who just so happens to be a master craftsman in another realm, he came in and really appreciates and sees what I do. So he kind of gives me the reign to design in the way that I know that this should be made, and be able to add elements of goldsmithing that you don't really see at your box jewelry store, because many of the jewelers are not trained to do it.
Yeah.
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 And I can,
That's a good
I
answer.
can drop those photos to you too if you want to see them for.
Yes, I would love to see. What ring does Nolan give Stephanie when asking him to marry her, her to marry him?
Yeah.
Do
No
you want to talk
pressure.
about it?
No, you go.
Well, it's a really beautiful baby pink sapphire, 4 carats, flanked by two really stunning half moon diamonds, set in platinum with a two-tone, like a gold prong
Yeah, so 18
head.
karat gold head, and her sapphire is right on the border of being a pad parasha, but it didn't get started as such. I put 18 karat gold behind it, kind of brings a little bit more orange into the stone. And then her side diamonds are D color, so it needs to be in platinum. Yeah. And when I made it, it was more so kind of in between. Like I had a lot of projects. It was right before we were going to Spain. So, and I knew I wanted to propose when we went. So I think 3 stone rings are timeless and classic, and they never go out of style. And it was something that I could make within the time frame. And now, between now and our wedding, I want to remake her engagement ring and make it, with all sorts of fancy stone setting, and do it up the way that I truly want to do it. So
Because now I've seen it, so he doesn't have to keep it a
Because it
secret.
had to be a secret.
yeah, exactly. It's not like I can work on a piece for a week and not have her walk in the room while I'm working on it and be like, "What's that?" So I had to do it while she was out of town, which I only had a few days, and so
Look away, look away.
Yeah,
yeah,
he did a good job. Very
yeah.
good job.
How do you guys approach pricing and communicating the value of handmade and faceted work in a world of mass production?
It's tricky because you never know where somebody's been before you and what they were getting quoted. But I think when people come in and they see the work for themselves, they understand, and they have already an idea that when they come in, they're going to spend a little bit more than your traditional jewelry store, and actually people value that more anyway. And we're not gouging people. We're very fair with our pricing, but I simply work with the finest stones that I can source for my clients. I don't cut corners there, and they understand that, and they can visually see that when they look at two stones next to each other, one that's a native cut compared to one that I've precision cut or concave cut in house here. They can see the difference. There's no confusion there. And then also when they wear the piece, it's, I don't really make dainty jewelry. I make things that are substantial material, that are built to last at least their life, and hopefully they can pass it down for the next generation, and it's still in wonderful shape if they take care of it. So that's really important to me, and it's reflected in what I charge, and it also allows for us to build and grow our business, to support other jewelers in the process. I mean, living in Connecticut isn't cheap either, but it's all part of it.
Yeah. I would also say we kind of, one of the parts that we talked through so far is that the client experience is so important to us.
Yeah.
Like eventually we probably won't have any retail space. It'll be more so like a lounge where people can come in and just have like a really intimate time. And people love that they get to talk to Nolan, specifically the craftsman. There's something about it where like talking to the actual person who's doing the work is such that they value it so much, because he's not like a recluse, to be completely honest. He's a really great person to talk to. And so we kind of set the tone for our entire, like, the premium experience that we do offer through the client experience, through how our website looks, through how when people request an appointment, how we reach out to them in the system for confirming appointments, like all of that. We have put so much time and energy and care into that. I think the entire thing is infused with that energy of care and love, and people can feel that, and it sets the tone for then when something is a little bit more premium, it's like, well, there's a reason for all of it. It's not just, out of thin air. And the fact that the work is being done in Connecticut's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's really special. And Nolan, you touched on it, but we hadn't kind of fully diagnosed what exactly you're talking about here yet, is that you are not only a goldsmith, but you also facet stones,
Absolutely.
blows my mind to be able to hone in on both skill sets. I feel like there's just so much that goes into both of those things. And you're able to really put your own, I've talked a lot about it on this podcast, but really encouraging and challenging artists to make their own jewelry. Don't just make what someone else makes. And you have pursued enough skill sets that really very few people can also do at your caliber. And then not only that, but you're making something start to finish that is really entirely only touched by you. That's amazing.
Thank you. It's not always the case. Sometimes I'll outsource the casting, and like, it's not all done by me, and so I can't take full credit for that. But when I started as a goldsmith, the older jewelers that I worked with, they all told me that it was ridiculous to think that I could do all of these different things. It was that I needed to be a specialist, whether I was a stone setter or just a repair specialist or just a designer or simply just a stone cutter. I couldn't be all these things that apparently didn't exist up until maybe a couple decades ago. But I didn't believe in any of that. So I went and pursued learning stone cutting and pursued the custom jewelry route and fancy stone setting. And I think that if I can do it, so can anybody else. You just have to believe it and work to it. So I guarantee you could do it. You want to come take a lesson? I'll show you how to cut stones. And I guarantee
Would love to.
You can cut a
I'm
stone
there.
within 3 days.
I'm there, friend. No, it's so great. Oh, and in your business, you have to scale. But my point being is that if you needed to do something start to finish, you
Yes.
could.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's always your intention. That's why we're trying to free up his time, is so he can do more of that. Because that's like when you see him absolutely light up is when he's made a piece start to finish, and like he has the time to dedicate to that, which has been amazing.
For sure.
Yeah, that's really special. You talked a lot about the client experience. What do you hope clients feel when they wear the piece that you've created down the line?
Well, a lot of times when I'm making a piece, it's for something meaningful. It's a meaningful moment that they're trying to commemorate, whether it's an anniversary or a birthday or a combination of both, the many years that they are owed a piece. It's a symbol of someone's love, especially when, it's like a husband for a wife or vice versa, or it's something to kind of commemorate, their family, and it's some elements of the piece all tied to like their kids. And so when a client's wearing their piece, I want them to think and feel back to those memories and those moments. That's what I really enjoy about what we do here.
Stephanie, how has your jewelry collection grown? I mean, obviously an engagement ring.
We do have an engagement ring. We have probably some necklaces on my neck, but I'll say that like, Nolan, we're not huge gift givers, but like he gifts me, if that makes sense, right? So there'll be like one a year, like one every so often. You pour a lot of intention into them, which is like really, really special. I find like anything that I come up with in my brain, I never like as much as what he comes up with. So I kind of just give him full creative freedom to do things. I would say most recently we did like a really fun piece, which is this diamond S that I have. It's just so fun.
I've
Like, when
seen
you're gonna
those. They're like
see-
the letters, right?
They're so cute. I was like,
Yeah.
I can't not. So we made a little pendant, but every single thing that I wear, typically aside from these bracelets, he's made. And that to me is like the most special. So yeah, we'll just.
Nolan, it sounds like you approach making pieces for Stephanie the way that you make pieces for all of your clients, really intentionally. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks to
Where
the
do
team.
you see Deep River Jewelry in 5 or 10 years down the line? Are there dream projects or goals you would like to achieve on the horizon?
Yeah, I would like for those that know when they want something really special, that at the first place that they think of is you got to go to Deep River Jewelry for that. That's my forever goal in the future. That anybody who wants something beautifully crafted comes here. And then, of course, be able to grow not only the side of the business that makes jewelry, but also of our education side. I want to be a place where people can come and learn, whether it's stone cutting or even basic jewelry knowledge. I'd like to focus more on that as I get older too.
Yeah. Yeah. Open up a school. I'm there. Or just do
And,
one-on-one. I know so many people who are doing one-on-one training
yeah,
and
well,
loving
I'm
it.
running out of space, so maybe
Well, that's part of the expansion plan. We'll probably have a different workshop at some point.
we'll see. Yeah.
Would you guys like to stay within the vicinity of where you are right now, but just in a larger space?
Absolutely. Yeah, we really love the area. It's just a matter of, and maybe it is this house and it gets expanded in some way and we find a new place for us to live. There's plenty of space in this building. It's just a matter of turning the rooms into workshops and minimizing our retail space to just be, if it was just a space where we met with clients and it was really beautiful, we could have another, 1,000 square feet here to turn into a more workshop. So we'll see.
What are you guys most excited about right now?
The holidays are upon us. I'm excited about all of the projects that we currently have. It's been such a blessing between the things that Steph's been doing on social media and the word of mouth and the reviews we've been getting. I mean, we've been having a lot more people come in for custom projects, and it's very exciting.
I feel like every day is exciting. Like we really do wake up and we're like grateful and excited every day. It sounds so cliche, but it is. I would say that's true. And the momentum is really exciting. I personally get excited seeing what we have created together. And like 2 years ago, what we had only dreamed of happening, now like seeing it
Mm.
before our eyes, there's just something that's so invigorating about that. And then that gets like poured into like every single project that we do. Like when you're stagnant, the energy behind a project or a piece that you're making, it doesn't feel the same as when you're like in the flow and you're really seeing things, work and come together. And you're actively doing things that are maybe risky or maybe a little bit uncomfortable, but are ultimately growing your horizon. So I would say that that's really exciting. And our wedding. We're planning our wedding.
That's true.
That's exciting.
Very exciting.
Oh, I'm excited for you guys. Steph, I know that there are so many jewelers who would love to sit down with you and just ask for your advice on how to manage social media. Really quickly, because I know that it's so nuanced, but what advice would you give someone who's struggling to get their name out there?
Social media, well, I'll give so much credit to Nolan too, because he built everything himself. And now again, I get to come in and kind of amplify things. And we want to keep his page like mostly him. But I would say like the first thing is to have a system behind it. I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I need to create content. Like I'll just create content. And like that's great. But if you're a creative who actually has a full-time job, whether that's creating art or if you're creating art on the side and you have a different full-time job, like leaving it up to kind of, yeah, I'll just create content, whatever, you're not ever setting yourself up for consistency in my eyes, and consistency is what creates momentum. It's, rare that you post one video and it just goes absolutely viral. Typically, you've been consistent for a while, and then one of your pieces or one of your posts kind of pops off. And all of that consistency gives you data points to understand what's working and what's not working. So the first and foremost, like our lives changed when we had a concrete content system, meaning if people want to understand what that means, first, like at the most basic level, a system for like when you film, when you post, and how you write your captions instead of just doing it on the fly. And then beyond that, like a system for editing. So now we outsource a lot of our editing, or a system for like how you organize all of your content. There's so much. I'm trying to like give cliff notes
Yeah, do
in
you
a
recommend,
sentence.
like, a scheduling system?
Yeah, I would say we have a content schedule. We use Notion for everything, if that's helpful. Notion is an app it's not a content creation app, but you can build out databases and you can build out a lot of things on there. So we use that and share that with our team. So that's been really, really helpful. But yeah, having some sort of outline of like what you're going to post day to day. Of course, it's going to shift and change, but that has been really helpful. And I will typically pull Nolan, we don't need to do it that often, but like once every 2 weeks. And I'll
Mhm.
record him, but we got to get his face out here more.
Yeah. Well, that's so hard for so many jewelers.
It's so hard. It's
Oh,
hard for anyone.
he has you to encourage him to do so, and I know he also was comfortable doing beforehand, but it's so intimidating to put your face out there and sometimes a little cringe, and you just gotta get over it. I
There's a
have
lot of days where
experienced
he's
that
like, I hate
myself.
everything. Don't post anything. I'm like, I get that. I
Yeah.
understand. I feel the same way.
But talk to me about what it feels like once you've done it, right? Because so many people see that hurdle and are so intimidated, but you guys have actually made it to the other side of that, where you've been consistent, you've pursued it in a very as organically as you possibly can, right? Like I just feel like y'all's anytime I see you guys on camera, you're excited to be there and you're drawing people in. Now you're starting to get traction. What does that feel like, just so that people can be encouraged to try?
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how you feel about posting. You need to do it. And once it starts to work and you're doing things the way that it makes it work, it feels good when you start to have clients come in
Yeah.
and they're amazing projects.
And it's not even about for example, even like on TikTok. TikTok is like a recent horizon for us with Deep River Jewelry specifically. I mean, Nolan's built his brand on TikTok, but for Deep River Jewelry, we have probably like 5,000 followers. Like we've had like a few viral posts, but nothing like insane, nothing like in the millions or anything like that. And we have now like have a good amount of projects come in through TikTok. So it's like you never I would say one big shift that we made was like instead of like chasing numbers or anything like that, it's like educate your client base, show off your work, and tell the story that's behind it and show your face that you're a human, and that will bring in people 1,000%. You don't need it. Jewelry is such a niche thing that people are looking for someone who they trust and someone who can carry out the vision that they have and whose vision that they also appreciate. So I don't think it's really about the numbers, but about like the pillars of what you're putting out.
Yeah, that was beautifully said. I completely agree. And
Yeah.
you touched on it too, which is storytelling. That's the big key component, I think, is people need to figure out what story they want to tell and then actually how to tell it.
Yeah.
100%.
More of that coming soon.
Nolan, who would you like to nominate for me to interview next?
Mm.
This is the most serious question I've asked this whole interview.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of good candidates.
I have not interviewed your mentor that you mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah, I would say Mark Farrell. Buffalo Craft Company.
Can you
he's
put me in
amazing.
touch with them?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally.
Cool. Nolan, Stephanie, where can people find you, and what are your platforms, and if they want to commission you for a piece, how can they get in contact with you?
So our website is deepriverjewelry.com, and that's the same with Instagram. We're Deep River Jewelry. Or you can find me. My personal page is Nolan Sponsler, one word. And then Stephanie. You can reach Stephanie at Stephanie Elsperman on Instagram, and she also is running our social media platforms. And yeah, that'd be the best way to contact us.
Guys, this has been fantastic. I was so excited to get to know you better. I just deeply respect your work, and I respect your partnership. And I just think you guys are fun and young and having the time of your life. So thank you so much for sharing a bit of your joy and your vibrancy with us today on the podcast. I appreciate you.
Yes, we appreciate you too.
It's been a blast. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for starting this as well. I think it's such a needed storytelling platform to share the stories of craftsmen who don't typically get a platform to share all of their work and beauty. So it's really awesome what you're doing.
Thank you so much. It's been a ton of fun. And I look forward to seeing you guys in Tucson.
Yep.
Likewise.
Awesome. Have a great rest of your day. Cheers.
Bye.